welcome back to Gauntlet's on. This is just covering everything in the most recent uploaded version, 0.3 I believe it was. Starting with actually I changed this very first Gauntlet. I added some extra visuals, as well as 2 more waves, I believe. It's still fairly easy though. And I put this guy here. Pretty minor change overall though. And pretty much none of the other previous gauntlets have been touched. Alright, and with that we've made it back to Deep Docks. So this is another fairly easy fight. Pretty happy getting out of the Morrow though. Actually get to use some more interesting enemy variety. I did incorporate pilgrims into a few of these fights. Not that many, I think only 2. But they're there for kind of showing some story of, you know, the pilgrims obviously traveling through the Deep Docks as part of their pilgrimage. Fairly standard gauntlet. Nothing to write home about. I'm gonna skip the upstairs for now, we'll come back to that later. I decided to place an extra bench on the bellway here. And if you want to get this flea, this is going to be a lot harder than it was originally. There we go. The first one's not too bad if you can trick them into going into the middle lava. There are invisible enemy barriers to prevent them from going into the side one super easily though. And then this one up here is a little bit nastier. Okay. That took a few attempts. Yeah, that one's pretty hard just for the arena. And you gotta do both in a row, which is pretty nasty. Alright, keeping the pain train rolling. This room is pretty unused in the base game. There's like a little sleepy guy here, and that's about it. But you'll notice there's a little item here now. But in order to get to it, we're gonna need to go through a decently difficult challenge. This first wave's pretty basic. And one flint flame isn't too special, but the arena makes him a little spooky. These guys got stuck pretty easily. Lava lugs, a little bit hard to work with. If terrain isn't like perfectly rectangular, they don't really work too good. This is basically just a free silk wave. Alright, now for the hard part. Now sometimes these guys actually teleport off screen and just kinda die randomly. So if you're a bit lucky, that might happen. Yeah, one of them went off screen and died there. I'm not really sure why that happens, but it's a thing. Anyways, completing this gauntlet does get you the Magma Bell, which is very helpful for the rest of Deep Docks. This little small gauntlet up here. This deep diver is actually pretty interesting. Because of the way the terrain here works, they'll actually do a jump to the middle every time. Not a super difficult or interesting gauntlet, though. Unlike this tile card implies, I actually haven't done this hallway yet. That will be coming eventually. Because you cannot do the little hardbone hopper enemies as a summonable in Architect yet. So once those are available, this area will have a few challenges in it. Alright, this is a pretty minor little gauntlet heading up to the vanilla one that you need to finish before you can get dash. Pretty sizable arena, and it just uses these little fairly basic enemies. You have to take on a Spear Scar though, which is a little bit spookier. But not particularly difficult. These guys are quite bulky for early game. So once you finish the vanilla Scar Gauntlet, you'll head into this little room. You can now get a... Actually, yeah, I did replace that with Silk Eater. Well, not replace, you can still get that if you really want. But there's also Silk Eater there. And we have a rare no gauntlets in the first like half of this room, but don't worry, we do have one down here. Oh boy, that was pretty sloppy. I keep forgetting to not use dash, because you won't have it when you do this normally. My bad. Okay, there we go. And then you get the shortcut here, which goes back to the vanilla bunch, so you don't have to do quite as long of a trek. Going to get dash, though, is quite a difficult thing in a gauntlet song. Because you will have to go through that, this, and one more gauntlet before you can get it. All in a row, no bunch. So one thing I had to do here with the scar that dropped from the ceiling, I'll show it in the editor in a little bit, but it's actually 2 enemies rather than just one. Because when you spawn a scar, if it's a scar that can burrow, which is either these or the stalkers like this guy, they'll actually use their spawn location as their reference for where to burrow through. So because of that, if you spawn them up in like the air, they'll actually teleport back up there pretty frequently, which obviously we don't want. So because of that, whenever I want a Scar to drop from the ceiling, it is one that starts up here with a timer that despawns it and then spawns a different one down here. This does mean that if you hit one as it's falling, it technically won't do damage because it gets replaced by a different one. But for visual effect, it looks pretty cool. Fighting the Lascar guard here without dash is a little devious, but it is very doable. I did make sure to test all these gauntlets without using abilities. But anyways, you would pick up dash after that. So I can actually use it without feeling bad now. Yay. Let's say you want to get the flea first, so we'll go up here. This is another flea gauntlet. This one's not too hard compared to some of the other gauntlets you need to do for fleas, though. Nice. So then we get a bit of an interesting gauntlet here. In terms of enemy variety, this is one of the best ones I've been able to make so far. So you're going to deal with Deep Docks enemies, a few Scar, and some Choir folks at the same time. Ooh, that was a clean parry. Anyways, very fun gauntlet actually. Quite like that one. And I really like kind of slightly changing the story so that I can allow for the acquire enemies to show up in some more early game locations like this. I think it adds some nice spice to what could otherwise be a few too many bland gauntlets. This one's not particularly super interesting. Oh, I'm taking quite a lot of damage here. That's not a great heal. Oh well. Yeah, that one's pretty basic, enough to write home about. And if you weren't tired of one-wave random jump scare gauntlets, well, I've got great news. We got more one-wave random jump scare gauntlets. So, once you do that, you'll probably want to, you know, progress to the Lace Arena side of the map. Now, I did make it so you can bypass this next gauntlet by going up and around. But if you don't want to bypass it, this one's a little ridiculous. You do get chakra to help though. There we go. This one's pretty bad, especially if you try to do it without chakra being here. But it is skippable. You can go up and around to bypass it, so that's convenient at least. It's actually the first gauntlet with the Pilgrim Hiker. I think he's actually a pretty cool enemy. One of the more. He's got a lot of moves, but most people don't really appreciate him at all. He only shows up in like a few spots and blasted steps. This gauntlet's pretty easy to make up for the people who won't go around the previous one. Because needing to do that one multiple times would be awful. There you go, you can open up the Lace Arena from here. If you're doing the run back from the bench down here, then you will not need to do that gauntlet. The trigger zone for it is on the left side of that room, so it's fine. Here we have another one-wave fun gauntlet. It's time for a Silk Eater. And then if you wanted to read some lore, it's gonna come at a price now. This guy in this small of a room is so bad. So once you've grabbed this bench, you'll have a little pilgrim here you can talk to, given the rundown on the choir being in the region. And there is actually a second choir gauntlet a little bit further down into the docks, but we'll get there when we get there. Because getting there is going to be a little bit tricky. So this one's actually pretty cool with the gates blocking off some portions of the arena here. And then the gates actually open for this wave to allow these guys to work, which I think is pretty cool. I haven't quite... Okay, there's one other gauntlet, it's not in this version, that like almost does something similar, but at the moment this is pretty unique to this mini fight here. I actually did decide to give an extra bunch here just because otherwise this part of the map would be a little bit too brutal. We are going to want to pick up a school frag though, so let's try to get that done. Oh, that's unfortunate. I haven't actually equipped the magma bell. I should probably do that. I want to make sure to utilize this kind of unique arena. So this is some of the longer, not super long, but these are slightly trickier gauntlets overall. I forget if this is the last wave of this one. Oh boy, I'm taking a lot of damage from the floor. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so second gauntlet here. Got magma bell now, so it should be a little bit easier. One of the reasons I'm giving out magma bell instead of having you purchase it is A, just so it's easier to get, but B, also because I don't know how easy it is gonna be for craft metal to actually be like obtained in some situations. There might be some that I end up blocking off completely. So if you get the one from the Mara, you can spend it on Sting Shard instead. Now this wave's kind of interesting because these platforms get moved once you pull the lever. So you get some very weird floating lava slugs instead, but I didn't really have a great solution to that. So it'll just look silly. I guess I could just not had a lava slug wave, but they're funny, so. Oh boy. Yeah, like that. Everyone's favorite bombardier. Oh, that's such a pain in the ass to fight. Holy shit! The trick shot. Yeah, in general, optional gauntlets are going to be a lot trickier. There's going to be a few difficult required ones, obviously, but... Okay, thank God for Magma Bell, that was a bad heal. Oh, nice. But in general, these optional ones are quite a bit harder. There you go. Oh, this one's another kind of weird one. It's not too hard or anything, but one thing is that while making this, there's kind of been a sentiment I've had at times where if I can put a gauntlet somewhere, I probably should. So some of them turn out pretty solid, but I've also had a few kind of crappy filler gauntlets. But when you're adding a ludicrous amount to the game, you're gonna end up with some bum ones. I do quite like this Lava Larga placement though. I think it's fun to have them on the ceiling. Act 2, Act 3, technically. You don't have to do this gauntlet in Act 1 for any reason. But it's still pretty reasonable. Oh, that was not great. Can hit this guy through the floor, which is eh. But there we go. Oh, nice. Having to deal with this guy and the reed at the same time is pretty brutal, so when the reed get blown up is pretty sweet. There we go. Beating all of this will reward you with some pretty useless shell shards. And a pretty nice yellow tool that's normally exclusive to Steel Soul. See, next up we got Hunter's March gauntlets. This first one's pretty shrimple. Extremely simple, actually. Don't worry, this room has plenty of fun things a little bit further up here. Starting over here, we have this fun one, which I think I had to redo the hazard respawners for, not necessarily this one, but definitely the next one. These first few are pretty. There we go. Yeah, so these gauntlets are a little bit on the nastier side just because the arena's so scuffed, but they're not the hardest thing ever. Going into this room, starting with a mini ambush one here. The classic. But after that we get some more actually interesting ones. Start with the top floor one here. This one doesn't have any particular gimmick. Do get mid-wave ant though. To be honest, I don't remember why I put in this gauntlet at all, so I'm doing this one pretty much blind. This one's actually pretty long. Oh, there we go. But if you don't want to do that one, you can actually take the lower route and do a different gauntlet instead. A little bit of a tighter arena. Yeah, what's nice about the Scar Stalkers here, they can't really hit you if you're in the air much. So you can kind of just spam pogos off them. Scout's got projectiles, so they're a little bit harder to move around like that. Yeah, these guys get a little speed boost if you're in their line of sight, which kind of makes them surprisingly faster than you would expect. I think, yeah, there's a platformy one here. This one's not long or hard, like at all, but it's got a slightly funner arena. Not by much, but and then if you take this upper route, you can of course get some, well, not of course, but you can get some extra silk up here, which is going to be pretty useful going into this fight, which is a little bit on the nastier side. It's a little bit more gimmicky than some of the other ones too. It's kind of hard to tell that little winged guy's a mid-wave spawn when you kill one of the two scouts. I'm not playing this super well yet. Or there's 3 scouts, sorry. Forgot about this guy. Their burrowing behavior's a little wacky. There it is. This is a trap gauntlet. So there's some fun little things to slap away at you during it. It's all based on enemy deaths in this one though. I don't know how reactable it is depending on like where you are when they trigger, but kind of like funny and cruel enough. Well, maybe not cruel enough, a good terminology, but I just said keep it as is. And once you know it's coming, it's pretty reasonable. Yeah, there's actually 2 stalkers at the end there, but usually one of them gets hit by a trap when the other dies. I did, however, put a bench here for the rest of Hunter's March. And Spear Scar got a lot of health. Once again, you actually have a choice here. If you go up, there's one gauntlet, and then if you go down, there's a different one. Do the upper one first. This one's got a much wider arena. Oh. There's a little trap activation there. Pretty simple. This one's a bit of a tighter arena, but it's a lot shorter. If I remember, anyway. Nice. This area, this is the last little one-wave ambushy one. If Chakra's not here, there's a trap in this room, and the enemies will spawn when, at the same time, you trigger the trap and get stuck in the cage, which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, this forgot about that. This is a little bit of a nastier gauntlet in terms of traps. Pretty much every wave there is some funnies to go along with it. Interesting that Chakra doesn't aggro on the enemies here. It's kind of inconsistent. Internally there's probably like 2 or 3 different formats she has, and she only has the AI to attack stuff with like one of the 2 or 3. I barely made it out of that one. We'll see how this one goes. I think this gauntlet's actually pretty neat. There's little invis barriers to prevent these enemies from getting knocked into the spikes. Sometimes they'll jump in anyway, but makes it like a cool little 1v1. Yeah, I think he gets stuck on the waterfall type thing. And sometimes he just he does just fall sometimes. Other times he doesn't. It's quite intense, but alright. Chapel of the Beast here. Quite a bit harder to get Beast Crest in this one. So this first gauntlet's a mixture of Scar and Bone Beast enemies. And you do have to do this one every time you want to refight Beastfly, which is maybe a little cruel, but hopefully people actually doing this mod aren't gonna be dying to Beastfly too much. It's not that hard of a boss once you actually learn him. Ooh, I forgot about this wave. There we go. This one's pretty bad. It's you would have to have float by now, because you need it to get in here in the first place. But that doesn't stop a vicious Karenid above a pit of spikes from being kind of evil. Yeah, I've not been playing super well. This gauntlet's pretty easy. I just kinda died to a to this Karenid for no reason. Sometimes I've had this guy just kinda run into spikes. Bruh. Oh, I forgot that there's more. There we go. Now for the real fun. I do think the hardest part of this little, what, 4-ish gauntlets in a row is definitely those first two. Once you get past those first two, the rest is fine, and then Beastfly is unchanged. Last thing in Hunter's March for now. I haven't developed it very much at all. But there's gonna be a Mystic Gauntlet here. Gilly's actually in the way if you try to do it while he's here, so this is gonna cause the enemies to like bump into him. With base nail and base health, this first wave is kind of devious. The plan is to get curb sickle from this one though. Yeah, when Gilly's in the room, this last claw gets stuck weirdly though. Really stupid hard actually. But there isn't really a whole lot here. Basically you kill one of these two, this flying guy spawns, he's got a void shoot buff, and then you fight these two, and then I haven't developed it any further than that. So one of the other things I added is once you get either wall climb or you can also go through wormways, and if you want to pick up the Wanderer crest, it might be a little bit more challenging now. And that's gonna be because I've kind of redone this area to be a more, I put all the Verdanian enemies over here. Because making gauntlets for Lost Verdania is a bit weird when my scope for this project is basically just Act 1 and Act 2. I don't really plan on making it have a whole lot of, It doesn't really work with Act 3 because the map changes. Some of the currently existing gauntlets in Act 3 have, like, broken walls and stuff. But this is Verdanian Outpost. This area's really brutal with base gear, to be honest. So I'll try my best, but I might not successfully finish most of these fights. These projectile firing guys are just really bad. Cloverstack's quite bulky too. Come on. The problem is that since these are Verdanian enemies, they expect you to have some weapon upgrades by the time you get to them. So doing these with base nail is just really obnoxiously difficult, just because they're so tanky. And they like all do double damage in one shape or form as well. Which again isn't really a problem at all for when you would normally fight them, but this is so much earlier in the game. Wanderer Crust is pretty spankin' overpowered overall. I mean, technically all of the crusts are in their own specific ways, but Wanderer Crust is the one that most people use as a crutch, so I wanted to double make sure it was a little bit on the harder side to get access to. It's definitely probably the second easiest crust face tank with, other than Witch, maybe Beast. Oh, I forgot about this. This one's a little evil. This is cruel and unusual punishment. If you don't have like movement ability, yeah, without double jump, you basically have to wait for the lily pads to respawn to hit this guy. I wanted to make sure I used the lily pads for something in this. This was pretty much the only spot I had to put them. Oh, okay, there we go. Anyways, this is what it looks like if you want to skip the other ones. So you literally just float, and then you're chilling. I'll give this one more go here. Anyway, so once you kill the 2 evil projectile guys, you just have to fight four of these dudes at once. So pretty chill gauntlet. Not really. I mean these are starting to be built more for when you would come back to them with at least a few upgrades, hopefully. This one you have to do for a moss berry. Since I removed the enemy that normally drops it in this room. But you know, these are a bit more difficult, but to be fair, again, they're all optional. And you would hypothetically have some sort of bonuses for them. Oh. So one of the other in-progress gauntlets is gonna be this Chapel of the Wanderer one. Right now, a few specific pilgrim types, like the orange one, the fat one, and the bell throwers, are not available yet. But, so for example, this first wave, I think, would have a bell thrower. So I eventually just stopped working on this one when I realized it'd be more efficient to just wait. Pretty sure this is gonna be a horned. This one's gonna have something decently nasty at the end. I think it's gonna be a double, gorgeous husk knockoff wave. So 2 of these guys at the end, I think, is my current candidate for what that's gonna be. Although I could just have like one custom one instead, I'm not sure yet. Originally, I didn't really want to do too many custom enemies in this, but as time's progressed, I'm becoming a bit more lenient on that. Then again, there's gonna be another half to that gauntlet, and then you'll get Wonder Crust. Here we go. So you don't have to kill the Craiglights for this fight. And the Craiglights are also optional, but you do have to kill 2 pilgrims. This guy used to also be one of the gorgeous husk knockoffs, but it was way too hard, especially since this is a required gauntlet now. since you have to do Wormway's route to get to Shellwood in this. So I am doing this with a lot more upgrades than I would anticipate most people do this with. You only need Claw Line to do this gauntlet, since it's a Mystic Gauntlet, which all Mystic Gauntlets require Claw Line. But you would probably have 1 to 2 weapon upgrades and like 6 or 7 masks going into the normally. Compared to this setup, which is, you know, max weapon upgrades. Stuff like the Beast Fly wave here is a lot harder normally. Some of the Beast Flies are voided, only 2 in that wave. When the other Beast Fly wave, you'll see in a little bit, has significantly more of them that are voided. And those waves are quite difficult with base upgrades. I'd actually say they're the overall hardest waves with base upgrades from my playtesting. But just because of how long and difficult this gauntlet is, I did not want to spend an hour trying to do this with base upgrades. With max upgrades, it's really not that bad. It's actually a fairly easy overall. But with, you know, with base, it's just really hard. Slumbering Behemoth here. A little bit on the trickier side to do. I've just got a lot of practice from pogoing off of him, but when you're fighting him the first few times, it's actually pretty hard to do consistently. This wave has like, I think 4 or 5, yeah, 6 or 7 mid-wave spawns. These Beast Flies are nerfed, they only have 100 health. So with max damage, I don't have to worry about them like at all. Similarly, these Skull Tyrants only have 250 health. So they go down pretty fast. And this is the final wave and the boss of the gauntlet, the Bone Lord. I'm pretty sure you have to pogo off him if you don't have double jump for this. And then his whole shtick is that whenever he does his little stomp attack, he's gonna be summoning in a Killick every stomp. But in addition to that, every 4th stomp will also be spawning in a big Skull Goomba on this side of the arena. Now in the uploaded version, it's going to be a Maroma instead, which is, you know, harder, you would think. But I'm like 80% sure the Maroma just straight up can kill the Skull Lord, which is, you know, not great. So I made the executive decision to get rid of it and change it out for the Skull Brute, which will be in the next version of this. Okay, I almost forgot about this one. Scar Storage Room also exists. This gauntlet is pretty short overall, but these guys are very comedic with how they spawn. This is the only gauntlet where I intentionally had them come out of the air like that. Although the Scar Shrine might also do it. Not sure yet. Yeah, this guy does get stuck somewhat easily, but wow. Oh, there we go. Pretty easy overall. And then it's like, all right, let's go see the Scar Merchant. Memory locket. So considering I repositioned where you would get this guy's stuff, I decided to make it so you just can't get to him. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this version of Gauntlet Song. I am a little conflicted about what to do next, though. Thanks, GMF. Because I would normally do Farfield, but I'm waiting on a few specific Pilgrim enemies to be available in the mod before I do that. I would do Greymore, and that's what I've kind of been doing a bit, but some parts of it I can't really do yet. Might Mother's not available yet, and I want to be able to use the Act 3 Craw variants for the right side. I've only really done like left Greymore so far. And then Shellwood is like obviously the next region I would do, but the Splinter enemies aren't available either. And I quite like the Splinters. I think they're very cool enemies. So I haven't really done anything there yet either. Which probably means that if those guys don't get added very soon, I'm gonna end up doing either Blasted Steps, Sinner's Road, or Bilewater next. Post-recording me here. Hey guys, forgot to mention this, but this mod's getting pretty big, so the download time's kind of atrocious. I think it took me like somewhere between 10 to 20 minutes to download the last version, and I suspect it's only gonna get longer. It might be like a full hour plus by the time the whole thing's done, which is kind of ridiculous. With that in mind, once it is complete, I plan on making a second version that is exclusively the boss gauntlets and has all the others removed. That way, if you're only in it for like the few specific major challenges, you'll have a much faster download time. But I'm not gonna make that until the whole thing's done, so yeah.